I apologize ahead of time, the video and audio drift apart. Sadly, I am not technically savvy. It might be best to merely listen rather than watching as well. This is a series concerning which I would love to hear Dan McClellan's critiques on. I am sure that if you were to watch the entire series, there will be things he would want to critique. I hope that Dan McClellan comes across these and gives his feedback. Was Adam immortal in the garden? Let's take a look. The issue really comes to who brought death into the world, death being regarded as something evil. I covered that broadly in episode 2, who is responsible for evil. But let's take a closer look and get more specific. Genesis 2:9, and the Lord God caused to sprout from the ground every tree pleasant to see and good to eat, and the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Genesis 3:22. Now the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And now lest he stretch forth his hand, and take also from the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Adam was never immortal, as he never ate of the tree of life. An argument could be made that he wouldn't die until he ate of the tree of knowledge. Genesis 2:17, But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for on the day you eat thereof you shall surely die. Setting aside the fact that this was a lie and God had no intention of killing Adam, the argument could be made that he wouldn't die until he ate, and thus he could have been in the garden for 3,000 years and not died, since he didn't eat of the tree of knowledge. We do have reason to believe that Adam and Eve were in the garden for quite some time, far more time than tradition claims. See episode 1, Who was in the Garden. But upon eating of the tree of knowledge, God kicked Adam out to prevent him from taking also of the tree of life. Why couldn't he have done something like that to prevent Adam from taking of the tree of knowledge? Fence it off, preventing access. If God is going to prevent him from accessing the tree of life, why not prevent him from accessing the tree of knowledge? And if he allows access to the tree of knowledge, why interfere and prevent access to the tree of life? Simply put, death already existed, and certainly outside of the garden. The very idea of there being a special place like the Garden of Paradise, or Eden, says that outside of the garden it isn't paradise. All manner of evils and death are happening outside of the garden. One can't say that animals only existed in the garden, as there were water animals as well. Life outside of the garden existed. You might claim that no human life existed outside of the garden, but there were still animals out there, and outside of the garden evil existed as well as death. And since there is good reason to believe that the sacrifices of Cain and Abel happened before Adam was kicked out, Abel killed the firstborn of his flock. Or you might say Abel didn't do it, but God sent a fire from heaven, but it still killed the firstborn of his flock. So death existed, and even existed inside of the garden, not to mention Cain killed Abel while in the garden. The best that you can say is that he was only immortal until he ate of the tree of knowledge, so no real immortality existed. No real immortality was within Adam.